What's up guys, Axis here, bringing you the 6th episode of my tips and tricks series. And today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on lights and my kind of light setup here in Cinema 4D for my intros and stuff. I'll also be showing you how to do flickering lights, which you can do in After Effects, but I think it looks and blends a lot better with the scene when you do it in Cinema 4D right with your render. So first off, we're just going to be starting off with a simple light setup, which I'll normally use. So I'll just grab a light object, and I'm just in a standard Cinema 4D composition here. I'm going to go into my coordinates and move the Y coordinate up. You can also use the Y axis, of course. But my Cinema 4D is acting up, and I haven't bothered to look for a fix because somehow these axes scale, but I'll figure it out. So there, that's about right. You can obviously adjust this later, but what I normally do is instead of copy and pasting lights everywhere, what you can do is you can hold Alt, go into MoGraph while holding Alt, go to Cloner, and as you can see this is going to create multiple lights on top of each other. But that's not really what we want here. Want to go into the object mode and radial, and then go into your coordinates, go into your Y rotation and change this to 90 degrees. Go back into your object and you can adjust the radius here. So obviously if you have a big object down here, you're going to want to see the whole object, so I'm just going to get sphere. Right, so if I just rendered this out really quickly, it's gonna look doesn't look very good at all. I might actually just adjust the radius just so I get a bigger covering. You obviously want to be able to see it, but you don't want the whole thing illuminated that brightly. So to kind of see the shadows and everything, first go and grab your light here inside your cloner. Make sure it's inside your clone device. This obviously hasn't worked for you. So go back into your general, go into shadow and change this to shadow map soft. And as you can see, if I add a plane underneath this, and maybe change up the radius and render it, it's going to render some shadows underneath it. So that's really good if you have a plane or a landscape underneath it, your logo or whatever you're using. And secondly, you can go into your render settings, located up here, it's the third button, and then go into your effect and choose ambient occlusion. Also can of give you a render settings here as well, I guess. And also, if you've got some objects lying towards it, like if you're using nitro blast or some other thing that breaks your objects in your composition, you can go and add depth of field, which I'm going to change the blur strength to 10, which is really good for intros where everything's quite close up and you're seeing all the textures and stuff. So yeah. Also in your render settings, I'm just going to show you my setup. I'm going to do 1280 by 720 and change the resolution to 300, and that's just going to change how many pixels per inch you're going to see, which will make your image look a lot clearer. I'm going to keep this at 30 frames per second, which is a really good frame rate. But obviously if you're wanting to slow stuff down or do time remapping in After Effects, you're going to want to put this to something like 60. So if you have it, you're going to have 30 frames, it's still going to look smooth. But obviously if you have this and you get 15 frames per second, it's going to look a bit choppy. So then, since obviously I'm doing animation, you're going to want to set this to manual. I found that all frames on R13 is kind of glitchy, and sometimes it comes up with errors if you try and render it. So I'm just going to change this to 12. Obviously you can do whatever you want. You can do 100 seconds or 100 frames, whatever units you're set to. And on analyzing, change your option here to best, which is going to give you a great picture quality. And right here you can either choose a image sequence, which I normally do, and I choose a TIFF, which uses PSD layers, which is obviously going to be really big in picture size. So normally like an intro of 12 seconds, this will use up around a gig. So if you're running really low on space, either use a PNG or a JPEG. I'd normally stick to PNG though. They're a lot better quality than a JPEG and less compressed. Also change your depth to 16 and check your alpha channel, which will mean that in After Effects, if I add an object behind this, you'll be able to see it and it won't have a black background. So that saves a lot of hassle too. Yeah, that's pretty much my render settings. So I kind of got off track there, but as you can see a lot better shadows. And if you have plugins such as Greebler on it, which you just drag the object into Greebler, and then I'm just going to do a quick Greebler thing here, like that. You'll be able to see a lot more of the shadows in there. It looks really nice render. And if you want to add some color to it, which I normally do, I'm just going to get my light, just going to create a new one, and I'm going to change the color to a really light blue. So if you click here, you can get some standard colors. I'll just choose this blue, press OK, and then just go into the whites of the blue here, get a really light blue, and you can mess around with the intensity so it's not too overpowering, and then just move it back in your composition, and then move it up and maybe along a bit so you can get a nice perspective on it. As you can see, there's kind of a blue tint in the corners there. Oh, camera went weird. I'm probably going to put the intensity up on that. Yeah, it's a really nice effect. Also, now for the flickering lights. So what I normally use is a target light for this, which, as you can see, it's going to, you get two nulls. Well, you get a null here, which is called the light target, which if you go and move in the coordinates, it will change the position of the light, and wherever you move it, the light's always going to be facing this. So it's kind of like a target camera in my last tutorial, and this is what I normally use for flickering light. So I might use kind of an orangey color for this. Really nice contrasting colors for blue and an orangey red. And as you can see, it's kind of like a midnight scene. And to make this light flicker, you're going to want to go into you're going to want to go and create a null. It's a standard null here. Right click on it, go into your Cinema 4D tags and go down to Espresso. And as you can see, it's going to bring up the Espresso editor window, which it will be on X Manager here. And you're going to want to drag in your light, and it will create your light object in Espresso. Go into this second tab here called Xpool and look for noise, which I've already looked for, so I'll just do it again. And then you can drag noise in, and this little pinky red circle here you can drag onto the light. Make sure you drag it onto the blue box, and then in here you can control any kind of option in the light. So I'm going to want to control the intensity, but right now if I click on the light, you can see that the light's going into negative, so it's not actually showing at all, and then only here it goes up actually into positive numbers. So to fix that, click on your noise, and then in these settings here, click on positive only. And then as you can see, if I go back into my light, it's gonna be always in positives. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it that well, but it's flickering there. If I make the composition a bit longer, and then I just scrub through it, you can see that the object is getting illuminated slightly more at some points. Yeah, and that's basically how I do my lighting. It's a really easy setup to do. The flickering light's probably the hardest thing to do. So yeah, I hope hope this really helps you guys making intros and setting up your scene, even for renders, so you don't have to use someone else's Lightroom. It can be completely your render. Yeah, and thanks for watching, and remember to like and leave a suggestion for my next tutorial, and I'll try and get around to doing it. And thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye.